In this box, we have my least favorite of the Predator Elite lineup, and of course it is the laceless model. Let's jump into the unboxing of this video. Now, comes with a very standard new edition of the Adidas box with the 3 stripes, matte black box, and a metallic 3 stripes. Then you've got the Adidas football logo on this side and the other long side. And then here is your size. So this is a normal, for me, 9 US, Euro 42 2/3, a Japan or 27 centimeters, and a UK 8.5, very standard for me for the Predator Elite lineup. So you do in the box get a care instructions, which I never read and don't really care about. And then you have the new string bag, which I'm kind of hopeful that they actually bin this string bag for the next generation or the next colorway and go with back to the mesh string bag, because I think this sort of Nike-ified string bag is a little less practical. I don't know. I love the mesh string bags. I think they're absolutely fantastic. I use them for absolutely everything. Like all my swimming gear is in a mesh bag because it dries really easily. So anyway, I digress. But new Predator styling here on the paper, and we'll get these opened up. Boom. Oh, nice. Okay. Beautiful. There we go. So the laceless model of the Predator 25. This is the new model for, I guess, the end of 24, the new 25 year. Of course, the Goal Hunter colorway, which is an homage to the Champagne Manias from 2002. And it's giving me, especially with these black stripes, a little Accelerator vibe, including some of the way that this wave patterning on the upper is. So let's get these unboxed. Nothing else in the box as well. It's just these 2 boots and the string bag, which is cool. All right, let's lay this guy down over on that side. Here we go. So this is the Predator laceless. I'm actually gonna pull out all of the paper so I can show you guys some of the updates to this new Hybrid Touch upper, which of course carries over from Hybrid Touch from the last generation, but with the review of the fold-over tongue and the regular Elite model, which are up on my channel already, you guys probably will have seen the differences in the 2 uppers, which I think are absolutely fantastic. I really like the direction that they went with these in terms of the softness of this Hybrid Touch. It feels really, really nice. Still has a bit of structure to it, as Hybrid Touch and the Predator in general should, which will give you that pingy sensation when you are striking the ball. And of course, in the midfoot, which is a little bit narrower, you do have some reinforced ribbing right here, which isn't going to give you a difference necessarily in the fit than the previous generation, but with a laceless model like this, it might help with a little bit more lockdown. It's the same as you get in the other 2 models. So this upper is exactly the same from all the way around. The only difference is, instead of it being a standalone tongue or a fold-over tongue, you do of course get the prime knit here through the middle of the boot that carries over a little bit on the edges of the lateral and medial side of the ankle for a little bit of flexibility and softness through there as well. Then you have the Control Frame 2.0 outsole, which is carried over from the previous generation as well. Control Frame 2.0 outsole is probably one of my favorite in the control/power boot category. It's very nice. It's got a pretty decent amount of snapback as well, and there is great structural rigidity through the midfoot, and the stud pattern is really awesome. For me, this kind of does what the DS Lite X-Fly 5 does, where the DS Lite X-Fly 5 has conical studs that have cutouts in them. This has triangular studs that have been rounded edges. So it comes from 2 different angles, I guess, this being more aggressive to a little bit more neutral, whereas the other one, DS Lite X-Fly 5, is more neutral to more aggressive. And I know it's not much of a comparison. I know you might not understand that, but in my head, it makes sense because this is pretty neutral, but it still has that edge and that flare of aggressiveness when you're on an AG or an FG surfaces. This colorway and future Pred colorways will be getting an AG or an HG sole plate. I can't remember what, or maybe actually both it could be. I haven't actually looked online, but I have heard people say that there are some AG models of this particular Goal Hunter pack available. Speaking of colorway, this is absolutely sensational. In my opinion, it's the 2nd best Predator colorway of the last 12 months, including the older generation. This is my 2nd favorite, if not my favorite, behind the Predator Rotero David Beckham. It's not called the Rotero because of the colorway, but the David Beckham colorway. This is absolutely sensational. And in a laceless model, it actually looks okay. It looks okay. I really prefer the red tongue because I think it makes this section of the boot pop a little bit more. And the fold over tongue, of course, is an incredible design element. So that takes the cake for me as far as the best design. But as far as just boots in general, I do think the laceless pred looks clean. It looks pretty nice. And there's nothing really to complain about. Now, for the general fit and performance of this football boot, I will be doing a play test of this one, just as I will be for the other two top-end Elite models. I am expecting this to perform about the same as the previous generation, potentially, though, even less performance because of the softness of this upper compared to the previous generation. This feels a lot more leather-like and less rubber band-like, so a little bit less out-of-the-box structure that will probably help with comfort, which is why, objectively speaking, from a performance perspective, the laced model and the FT model are going to be a lot better from a performance perspective than this one, and that was the same with the previous generation Predator 30 model, or Predator 24, I guess if you want to go by year, model. And for me, I'm going to sacrifice comfort to get into a pair of the new model, and then I'll go with the laces because I think it's going to be exceptionally comfortable, really great performance, and overall a really nice update as well. So overall, the laceless model isn't really that much changed from the previous generation other than updates to the Hybrid Touch upper, same sole plate and stuff, same prime knit here, and then grip elements. So grip element is the other thing with the strike skin. You got a lot less grip element here on the strike skin of the new Predator, which might be a good thing for you, might not be a good thing for you. I actually think the design looks better this way because it's not as aggressive across the upper. With a boot like a GX2 or the new Vapor 16, the grip knit is the grip, so the upper is the grip as opposed to it being just an upper with grip elements attached to it. That's the same with the SKX, right? The SKX has more of a textured upper grip that gives you that same type of feeling as well. But I think something a little bit more subtle like this, while keeping with that nice and rubberized feel, is going to give you maybe 60%, 60 to 70% of the amount of grip that you would have gotten from the previous generation, but it's going to look a little bit sleeker, and I think, this is just my opinion, we'll see how it is in the playtest, but I do think it's going to give you, playing-wise, a little bit more of a seamless transition. I found that the previous generation Predator, which, by the way, I absolutely loved, it made the top 10 football boots of 2024, no question, it deserved to be there. One of the reasons it wasn't higher on the list was actually because the upper and the grip were so different that it felt like I was playing with a normal pair of football boots here and then the grippiest pair of football boots ever on the medial side. So for me, and I've complained about this a lot with other styles of football boots, particularly boots like the 99-gram leather boot, if the transition between two materials is too abrupt, then the tool doesn't become part of your, it becomes a tool, not a part of your playing experience. And for me, that's where this, I think, strikes that really beautiful balance between still giving you grip, still giving you the ability to get that extra 3 to 4% swerve on the ball or knuckle on the ball or dip on the ball, whatever you can with that extra little bit of grip, but it's a little bit less, there's less of a transition. That's all I'm going to say. But more thoughts coming in the playtest. So without further ado, let's jump into the on-feet portion of the video. We'll talk about sizing, we'll talk about whether you should pick up a model like this, whether you should go with the F50 laceless, and if you are on the market for a laceless football boot, which I'm guessing if you are watching this video, you are, which one you should go for. Because there's a couple, I'm not a laceless football boot fan, really, but there's a couple models on the market that are actually pretty decent. And if you can nail lockdown in the heel area with a little bit of grip element, whether you put two-sided tape back there or whether you have grip socks or whatever you do, if you can nail it, it might actually be a pretty nice experience to play in, just like the previous generation was, minus a lot of the lockdown, at least for me. So let's jump into it. All right, what's going on, fam? Welcome to my backyard. Let's jump into the laceless Predator Elite 25. Here we go. That's what they look like. Pretty sleek, pretty no nonsense, exactly the same construction as the other two models on the top end. So let's get into it. My guess is these are going to be slightly more difficult to get on, potentially a little bit tighter straight out of the box, just because of the way these are constructed. But I imagine that this Hybrid Touch upper is going to feel pretty sensational. Oh, yes. Yeah, wow. Man, I wonder what it would be like if they had the knit and then laces. That would be pretty ridiculous, I think. Similar to the Copa 2 Plus. Those feel really nice. Definitely can already tell there's a little bit less lockdown, especially here on the outside, because that's where that last lace loop sits, about right there. And then it pulls the material kind of across that top crease right there of your ankle. And so they feel super comfy out of the box, no doubt, which is on brand for this new Predator line. I think these are some of, if not the best synthetic material on the market. I think this, I said it in my regular laced model review, but I do think that I prefer this Hybrid Touch to the Messy Hybrid Touch. Part of that could be because the Messy Hybrid Touch models, that F50 doesn't really fit the shape of my foot as well. These fit me almost perfectly, and that includes the other two top-end models. This is true to size. You've got maybe a tiny quarter width of a thumb on the end, and that is perfect. My toes don't feel scrunched at all. As you can see, I can wiggle my toes, no problem. I'll give you guys a side profile of kind of both of those. There you go. Look at that left one. Toes going crazy. All right, so there we go. On feet, they look really sleek, really nice in my opinion. I'm not a huge fan of laceless football boots in general, as you guys probably know. That being said, I think when you got a full kit on, they look pretty clean. I tend to prefer laces from a design perspective as well, because number one, I think it looks a little bit better, and you can add a little bit of contrast to the boots. So you put a black pair of laces or a red pair of laces on a white-based boot, and it just looks incredible. Similar to the white laces on the regular Elite and the black laces on the FT model. It just creates that little bit of extra separation, and I just think this is missing it. So from an aesthetic perspective, these are probably my least favorite out of the top three Elite models. Now, from a fit and comfort perspective, you can expect to feel pretty much the same. The only thing that changes is the sensation around the top of your foot, right here where the prime knit is. Of course, it's a regular tongue that actually goes all the way down to about there. And so there's a little bit more Hybrid Touch material kind of where this Adidas sign is right there, or this Adidas logo. And so the tongue would usually go kind of down there, but then they made it a little bit higher to accommodate for a little bit better lockdown, despite obviously these not having laces. And I will say that the heel area definitely doesn't feel as locked in, although with the slight difference in the way that they've separated the heel pads, I do think that this is going to be a little bit better even than the previous generation laceless model, particularly because the softness of the upper is going to feel so nice straight out of the box, which it does. And then you being able to get in the back of the boot a little bit more, I think is going to be a good thing. So overall, really, really nice feeling. And it's just from a performance perspective, we'll do a play test, of course, of these ones that'll probably come out in Jan or Feb. And yeah, we'll see how we go with that. But touch on the ball is awesome. It's very seamless, more minimalistic for sure than the other two top-end Elite and FT models. So if you're wanting the most kind of raw barefoot sensation, but you want a Predator, then this is definitely the one to go for. Obviously, then you sacrifice the lockdown and especially rip your Achilles tendon and your ankles, or the backs of your heels, I suppose, because of how much slippage you'll probably get in these ones. But touch on the ball feels amazing. I'm really, really excited to test out some of the strike skin, because I am interested to know if it's going to feel different or similar to the previous generation. I think with some of the play testing, I'm going to get a little bit more out of the laced models, just because I'm going to probably feel a little bit more secure. And from a technique perspective, it's feeling the plant foot really. And so adjusting my plant foot to deal with a laceless boot is different than adjusting my foot for a laced boot that I know isn't going to slip. So as I plant and I'm whipping the ball, I'm not going to get any sort of slippage in that heel area. But overall, I mean, these feel fantastic. There's nothing really wrong that I can say about these on feet just like this. It's just going to be a matter of, do they actually perform on the pitch even close to where the two laced Elite models go? And if you want a laceless model, I think this is definitely an option. I think the other one that I would probably consider ahead of this one, at least for my taste, is the Tekela V4 Plus laceless, the high-end one, and that one comes all the way up to about there, just above the ball of my ankle bone. So from a lockdown perspective, that one definitely feels more locked in straight out of the box. And then you have the the F50 laceless, which is kind of a tragedy in my opinion. And then you have the F50 Plus, which is also kind of a tragedy in the sense that they went really hot on tech, but then took all that tech kind of away in some ways because it doesn't have laces anymore and it's not as locked in. I don't know. Those two boots, the laceless F50s don't make any sense to me. A laceless Predator makes a little bit more sense to me. Okay, fair enough. You want to join the hype of a laceless train, but I don't know. For me, it's not really my thing. That being said, if you're on the market for it, I would highly recommend, highly recommend either the Tekela V4 Plus or the Predators, not the F50s, because the F50s have a very plasticky upper and they're not going to mold and stretch and kind of get into those nooks and crannies. As you can see, there's absolutely zero space. The boots fit perfectly flush to my feet, even though I've got pretty awkward shaped feet, especially in that midfoot area. So for me, again, Tekela V4 Plus or these. That's really your two options from really well-performing as you can possibly get from a laceless football boot. So if there's anything that I didn't answer in this video that you guys are curious about, let me know down in the comment section below. Go true to size. I went with my usual 9US and they fit really nicely. I'm gonna get a little bit of break-in stuff issues right here, which is pretty par for the course in terms of the Predator, especially the newest generation. But after about 2 to 3 hours, no issues at all. So hope you guys enjoyed that video. If you did, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Discount codes for my favorite grip socks and miter footballs will be down in the description box below. As always, be awesome. Take care. I'll see you guys in the next video.